that that's why God put us here, is so that we all can be loving towards each other, so that we can help each other, so that we can support each other. Because the same way, I mean, anyone can be in any position, at any time.
Right.
We like to believe that it would never be us, and we like to think that, but that's not always the case, and it can always, be any of us at any time. And I've always lived by the you treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I've never thought that that was a complicated thing to do. And that is regardless of, who you are, because it's not my responsibility nor my right to judge anybody for anything. And so it was always just a passion to me, and kind of a wanting to show that you love people no matter what, and you do whatever you can to help people. If you can help someone, then you help them. And so that's basically why I started it.
Yeah. And you specifically are based out of Columbus or
So our headquarters is in, I guess you could say Columbus, because like I said, we're entirely virtual, but we're also registered in Georgia. And my sister, Lakia, she's actually in Georgia right now.
okay.
And I'm in Ohio. But we do, like I said, provide services, to anybody, anywhere, wherever they're being released to, wherever, and it's having that support system, because some people don't have that at all. So just having a support person there that can, you can go to, you can talk to, they're going to be, in your corner, trying to help you, trying to find you the things that you need, and are genuinely invested in helping you become the person that you want to be, is, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. So basically, you network with other organizations, I'm assuming, doing this all virtually. So, for instance, going in another state, if someone contacts you and they need help with housing, then somehow you have built a network database with other states that you can say, hey, I'll send you over to this group and they will help you find housing. Is that kind of how it works?
So that's also why it's interesting, I guess, how we have structured it being virtually. Is that is one thing that we are doing, and that's something that we're continuously working on, obviously, because all 50 states and all of the resources that are available in all of these different states, and there's so many resources that people don't know about, that or aren't taking advantage of. So that is one of the things that we're doing, is building different relationships in these different states for housing, for employment, for just food pantries, for churches, all of those kind of networks we're working on building, and we're getting in contact with people. But then also, because we are entirely virtual, it allows for us to be able to bring in volunteers from all over the world, actually. So we have volunteers that are from outside of the United States, and that are in other countries, and that are just interested in, our justice system and helping and things like that. So, but we do have volunteers from, all over the country. And because we're virtual, it allows for, people to volunteer at any time, and be able to volunteer, at any time, any day, wherever they're at, because we are virtual. But then it also allows for them to kind of be um, ambassadors in a way, but also, because I'm not, let's say we have a volunteer that's in Texas. Since I'm not in Texas, they're going to be able to know the resources that are available in their local area, in their area. So then they're going to be able to get us in contact with those resources that we might not ever know about, because we're not in Texas. And
Right.
so that's kind of how we've been networking our way around the different states.
It's an amazing model. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you give an example for us of just some, a not a specific person, but just in general, a man or woman who basically would contact you and take us through a possible scenario of how you help someone.
Okay. So I guess I can go through the scenario that we usually get, which is people that are currently, I guess it kind of fluctuates, because we do get a lot of requests from loved ones. for, pre-release coaching for their loved one and things like that. So we usually will get if once we get a request, we do depending on, where they're at, whether that's growth from the inside, and we've received a request from JPay and they're currently in prison, or pre-release, we have them fill out a form. And so our form, it basically, depending on, like I said, where they're kind of at in the process, if it's growth from the inside, then our form is more geared towards their interest and things that they're trying to accomplish. We set goals, 3 months goals for everyone that does come into the program. And that's one of the first things that we do so that we can kind of get an idea of, what do you want to do for the next 3 months so that we can have, them kind of focused on something. And so they come in, they complete our either pre-release form, growth from the inside. Pre-release form is really focused on, you know, making a plan for once you're released. So that's making a plan for housing, making a plan for employment. If you have any educational goals that you do want to accomplish, going to vocational school, going to college. And then that's where also the family reintegration would come in. And so if you're living with a family member or something like that. So I lost my thought for a second. So yeah, so they would come in, they would fill out the form, and they would be assigned then a coach, whether that's a reentry coach, a pre-release coach, a growth from the inside coach. They all know how to do the same things, but they would then be assigned a coach who would then reach out to them, and then they would start making, like I said, immediately they start making 3 months goals. So what are your goals for the next 3 months? And if that's sometimes too difficult for someone to, look that far into 3 months. So, like, hey, let's start with, just a month then. And sometimes even that might be difficult for someone, if they're not in that place yet. So then it's, like, okay, let's start with, a week. What is your goal for the week? So it keeps them focused on something positive. But then also once you're able to achieve that goal, then, you have that kind of feeling in your self-esteem like, okay, I can do this, and then you're ready to move on to your next goal. So and then once they're released, they would then go straight into our reentry coaching program. We haven't had too many reentry coaching clients yet. Most of our clients have been our growth from the inside and pre-release, but like I said, with the reentry, they would come into our reentry program, and that is, again, they're assigned a reentry coach, but that is going to be primarily focused on, helping with the entire reentry process. So a coach is going to meet with you twice a week and, help you keep track of your goals, help you, family reintegration, relapse prevention, just someone to talk to. And that's why we do have the 24-hour hotline, is because the hotline and support is because maybe you're not able to get in contact with your coach. Maybe you're not able to get in contact with, whoever, an organization that you're already with. You always have that 24-hour support line that you can call, as that backup plan. So there's always kind of having that backup plan.
So,
I'm
Portia,
not sure if that completely answered your question or.
Yeah, yes. And so now how is your group funded?
So that is, we're just funded by the board right now. Lakia can probably tell you a little bit more about us applying for grants and stuff like that, because she's our accountant, and she can give you a little bit about her background as well, because she also does a lot of things with funding as
Okay.
well.
And
Yes.
all of the people that you network with basically are volunteering their time at this point when
I'm
they're reaching out to someone?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I missed
Yes.
that. What were you saying?
So the people who you connect with, who are they
Mm-hmm.
volunteers? Are they,
Yeah.
or are they paid somehow through your group?
Uh, so everyone is a volunteer right now, and we have about 83 volunteers as of
Wow,
right
that's
now, but
great.
it's probably increased since then a little bit. But yes, and like I said, they're from all over the country, but really all over the world, because some people come from outside of the country.
Right. Okay, I know I personally would love to, I think this is something Loop would be interested in, just continuing to have a network or a database of different organizations and helps that are not only in Columbus, but what you already have established that are in other states or other cities, because we have people who come across our paths, whether within Loop or outside of Loop, that we want to be able to help when we meet somebody. And a
Right,
lot of times it's a matter of knowing who they can connect with, that they can actually communicate with, because as you know, a
right,
lot of times you try to communicate with someone and you just get a busy signal or an
right,
answering machine and
right.
nobody. So is that something, um I mean, can you give us
So,
your
yeah,
information, or so
yeah,
that we
I
have
was
that,
gonna,
we can direct people to you
yeah,
initially?
yes, definitely. You can initially direct people to us, but we also have a research department, and those are people that just look for resources. That's the only thing that they do is look for
Wow,
resources.
that is
So,
so good. Good for
if
you.
you want, if you ever are looking for resources or anything like that, you can always, shoot me an email and I'll put it on one of our researchers' tasks to look for those resources. And like I said, it makes it kind of easy because we are able to have people look for resources 24 hours a day, because we have people that are volunteering from all over the world. So, different time zones, different. So people are able to look for resources 24 hours a day. So it makes it kind of easy that way. And then, yeah, I mean, it also helps the case managers and the coaches as well, so that they're not spending all of their time, looking for resources and
Right.
having to find resources. Instead, they can kind of just go to the resource department, say what resources they need people to look for. And then, those people can start looking for those resources and then, refer them back to the coaches or the case managers, making it so that all of the responsibility doesn't, fall on one person or two people. We
Right.
kind of make it so that we have a reentry team for people, so that they
That's
have, the family reintegration person, then they have their, initial coach, and then they'll have, relapse prevention, have, education, housing, all those things. And it's not, like I said, becoming overwhelming because one person's doing all of the things. It's a
right.
team of people, so that, like I said, I've always felt like we all should be working together anyways. That's what we're here for. So, we all are working together for the common good.
Right.
Portia,
Now, have you?
Portia,
Oh,
could
Yes.
you put your email up so that
Um,
people who want to talk to you personally could email you, and that way Jeannie could get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I think
yeah,
Lakia is
I
actually
did.
putting it in right now.
Okay, great.
good.
And Lakia can actually tell you a little bit about like how we're funded, since that was a
Yeah, the
question that
other
you were
thing
asking,
is,
how we're
I
trying
just
to
wanted to
figure
ask
out our
one more.
grants and
I
stuff.
wanted to ask
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
more question before we move to our second guest. But
Yeah, of
is there
course.
any cost to the family or the prisoner?
No, there is no cost.
Okay.
That's the other thing. There's no cost. We just want to help people.
Well,
Oh,
that's
how
great. And so you
wonderful.
have
Yeah.
some grants and things, right?
We're working on getting some grants right now. That's what Lakia is working tirelessly
Right.
on now, is trying to like bring in grants.
Yes. So we're
So,
working on bringing in grants, but we also have, we're developing social enterprises. So when the individuals come home, they have a either workforce development like training, and then also being able to hire them to bring in them income, and then also income into the organization. So those are different things that we're also working on. For instance, like landscaping businesses, auto mechanic shops, different types of, businesses that they probably already have some experience with, or they're getting training with already in the prison, that they can come home and not have to ask anybody for employment. We're going to give them employment. So those are another way that we're bringing in income. Of course, donations, we're trying to bring in donors, and then sponsors, corporate sponsors. And then we're also working with, since we are providing life coaching services to the prisons, we're working on figuring out a per diem rate for the prisons that we can charge, that since we're giving them the case management and all those services that, especially during COVID now, they don't have a lot of services in the prison. So that's
Right.
how we're trying to work on the funding as well.
Okay, well, thank you. We're going to move on to our next, but
Okay.
we want to have you guys back, both of you.
Okay.
And
Just let us know anytime.
okay, we will. And I'm going to, Linda Davis, are you there? Linda?
Yeah, I am here.
Okay,
I'm here.
we can't see you. And you just turned your mic off. Put your mic back on.
It's all good.
Well, it keeps flipping off. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so we can't see you right now. Can you move your camera over a little?
If I do that, I'm afraid I'll mess it up. You don't have to
Okay.
see me. I'm not that gorgeous.
Well, I just want to introduce Linda Davis to the ones who you don't know, and she's the founder of Loop. And she did an event for us up in Lorraine, and I just got rave reports on it. And I wanted her to share a little bit about what she shared up there. So go ahead, Linda.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. You know, I just love you. And for those people who don't know, and Portia, I want to thank you, and Lakeisha is your sister.
Yeah,
I want
Lakita.
to thank you guys for what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
it's so important for people to do outreach to help these prisoners as they try to come out. But you see, you guys are doing a real good job. And like in Summit County, there's like 68 to 88 programs for reentry. So when it comes down to the families, that was why Loop was created, because there's nothing for families that really help the families as they try to cope with a system that is not a friendly system toward families.
Right.
So what I was trying to tell people about, and I say this, when you have somebody incarcerated, it's a very lonely place to be. You don't tell a lot of people. You don't really brag about it too much. Um, and the number one reason for that, and I will tell you right away, is because you never want anybody to say to you, well, you know what you need to do? You know what you should do? You know what you did wrong? You know what you did? You just don't need that when you have somebody incarcerated. So it's a very lonely place to be and a very silent place to be. There was a lady who used to come to Loop meetings who said it took her over 2 years to tell her pastor that she had someone incarcerated. I went to my pastor and I wanted to be real honest and forthright because we were starting this new church. And I said to him that my son was incarcerated. And you know what he said back to me? Well, you know what he needs? He needs a life coach. And I thought to myself, I really didn't ask him what he needed, did I? I merely was trying to express. So it's a lonely place to be. So the other thing I was trying to tell people is that when you have somebody incarcerated, it's not a casserole event. Now, all of us probably have gone to churches our lives, and we all know about casserole events. If somebody has a birthday, has a baby, someone's in the hospital. When my daughter came home from the hospital after having justice, every night of the week, somebody brought her dinner that night. That's a casserole event. That's a time that people do things to help you out. And when I was speaking to NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Illness, they said to me that it's kind of like having someone with mental illness in your family. They're not casserole events. People they don't bring you food over. They don't try to help you out. They never really ask about them. I'm very blessed that I have a very special friend in my life who every so often, every couple of days, will say, Linda, how's John doing? Just how is John doing? Not judgmental, not telling me what I should do. Just wanted to know how John's doing. That to me means the world. So that's what I was expressing to these people, that especially during the holiday seasons, it's very hard on family members. It's like we're the collateral damage, but we're also the forgotten damage because we're not, a lot of people don't much really care about the families. Okay. and this is only my personal perspective for what I've lived through. And it's a very lonely place to be, but you have to be out there advocating for your loved one. And you have to be their advocate because in the prison system, there's no other advocate for them, and they can't advocate on their own. Um, so that's kind of what I was talking to them about. And so I was giving them some ways that really, if you know somebody who has somebody incarcerated, and you know they're going to visit that Saturday, and I was telling Jen earlier that when you visit somebody, it really starts the moment you open your eyes in the morning. And most people in the state of Ohio travel on average 3 hours. Okay, that's to and from to visit a loved one incarcerated. So if you have somebody who you know is going to have somebody incarcerated on that particular weekend, wouldn't it be nice if maybe they came home and all of a sudden there was a casserole on their doorstep that said, thinking about you today?
Exactly. Exactly.
Why not think about baking a cake for them every so often? Or, there's all these little things people can really do, and especially during the holiday season, it's really hard. It's tremendously hard to have your loved one incarcerated during the holidays because you know you just sit there and and you're lonely without them. And I don't think you ever get used to the fact that they're not there. And you try to make it easy on them. Maybe you send them gifts or maybe you do something. And because of this pandemic, it's even worse because there's no visiting. There's no nothing anymore. So it's so I kind of feel like we're standing here holding this bag and there's nothing in it. And for the most part, the general public, until they have walked in your shoes, will never understand what you go through. But they're always eager to offer their advice and they always want to offer their advice and their opinions. So that was kind of what I was talking to them about up there, is that if you know somebody, a family member who has somebody incarcerated, think about maybe just baking them a dozen cookies and taking it over. Go buy a dozen cookies somewhere at Giant Eagles or somewhere for $5. And it just shows that you care and that maybe they're not always going to be the loneliest person on the planet during that holiday season. And so that's really what I was talking to them about, that there are ways that we can help each other out. So that's kind of what I was talking to them about. I can go on and on, but I won't.
That's a good
Hold
word.
on a second.
Pardon?
That's a good word.
That was a good word, she said.
Yes, yes, it
Well,
definitely
thank
is.
you.
So I just remember the day that I called Linda, and I'd never met her before. And it had been only a few weeks, I think, since our crisis. And she
Mhm.
says to me, I just want you to know one thing. You're not alone. And that was such a life giver for me because you
But
do
most
feel
people
alone.
do. They do because, I mean, like when you look at statistics wise, 1 in 6 in the state of Ohio have somebody on probation, parole, or incarcerated. 1 in 6. So all these people that you see at church, you see at the grocery store, you see different places, 1 in 6 will have somebody, and they know it. But it's like this hidden thing. We all stay silent. We don't say anything because we're afraid of the retributions of people really coming down on us. And it's that stigma that's attached to it. So I hope I helped somebody out tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. I'm going to stop the
Oh, you're
recording.
welcome.